At a time when media agencies are being reshaped by AI consolidation and evolving client expectations, Anisha Iyer is focused on building a future ready agency model at OMD India. In this exclusive interview, we will hear her perspectives on leadership, the Omnicom IPG acquisition, client relationships, and the next phase of growth for media agencies in India. On that note, a very warm welcome, Anisha.
Thank you very much. Good morning to you too.
Let's quickly dive into the questions for today. I'm quite excited to speak with you. So we know that you became one of India's youngest agency CEOs before the age of 40. How has that really shaped your leadership style, especially in industry which is, inherently driven by hierarchy and experience?
Yeah, so it's been good. I think God's been kind, and I think opportunities have been incredible. So um, there is a part of me that still values experience, but there's a part of me that also believes that work and delivery, work ethic, results can sometimes, I think, tone down the elaborate need of experience as traditionally it would have been sought by. In my case, actually, I started working really early, so my number of years of experience I don't think would have ever been a problem. My first job was when I was 17 years old, so it's been a while that I've been working. It's over 25 years now, so there was enough experience on the table, let me put it that way. I think what also helped was I have worked in 5 countries throughout my career, which essentially means that a lot of tolerance and empathy to cultures there, different kind of people, different settings, and that helps you grow up faster, in my view.
Yeah.
So I think a lot of unlearning, learning happened in the time that I spent outside of India as well, and that significantly impacted the manner in which I show up every day. So those things put together, and the fact that you have a kick in your step when you wake up. I love the advertising business, so all of that put together, it didn't seem all that shocking, to be honest. But it wasn't easy. I would say that as well. Even within India, I think we have two very polarized set of people. The ones that are in support of good work, and then the ones that are in support of good work plus the need for experience. So that journey wasn't easy. Omnicom has been great. I think globally we have a fairly young leadership at the helm. So I don't think age has ever been a criteria in this organization at all, and I'm very grateful. But generally the market, it'll take a minute, I think, to just adjust around. But yeah, hopefully, I think a few minutes of meeting, then they're slightly more at ease, at least with clients, that they're in safe hands, if not anything else. But what it helps me do more than most others is I don't fear Gen Zs as others do. I love them. I think they help me be a better person. I think they help me be a better version of myself. Their priorities are amazing. And a lot about valuing your own life and living life well outside of the walls of work is something they teach you, and they teach you to value that, as opposed to all sacrificial all the time, which I truly appreciate. So therefore it helps, and I celebrate them more than I'm daunted by behavior, which is typically what happens in discussions. Or it's difficult and they're volatile and blah blah blah, but they're also innovative. They value personal time. I think that's very important. There's a quest for life and career balanced with them. I think they woke up with work-life balance, so I think there's a lot to learn from that generation. So that helps me. I think tiding over to the other side of gray slower than most helps me in that respect, for sure.
Okay, so Gen Zs as partners in progress. What a wonderful thought there.
I
And
love them.
you have been doing a wonderful job. So we have been following your work for quite a few years. So many congratulations on your wonderful journey there. Okay, so Anisha, OMD's philosophy of we create what's next suggests that the agency wants to lead disruption rather than, simply react to it. Tell us, how does this really look like operationally and in practice for you?
Sure. So break it down, right? I mean, there's a there's a there's a we, there's a create, and there's a next, largely as three keywords
Yeah.
as part of the mission of OMD. One piece, I think I take great pride in the manner in which the agency comes together, everyone who works
Yeah.
at OMD, and that is a fairly consistent sentiment that clients echo, partners echo, that there is a brutal sense of honesty with people that work in this agency.
Yeah.
So we will not beat around the bush with people. We won't leave you hanging for too long. We won't waste your time. And there's a large sense of ownership of bringing the we together. So for me, it's the client, the teams, and the partner ecosystem together. And that consistently, that is how it should work. I know it's more often than not, I think it's lip service for most companies and leaders to be able to do that. But I think consistently seeing it every day, living it every day with my teams is incredible. So that honesty is something that we pride ourselves on, and therefore the we becomes a lot stronger than most others. So that's one part. Then the second part of it is the piece to create. So every day there's a quest to create, and that creation doesn't necessarily have to be a big idea. For all you know, it could be a process, or it could be bar nights on a Friday, as a
Sure.
ritual that you create. But
Sure.
even that's important from a creation standpoint to at least keep energy flowing. So
Sure.
I would put everything from creating a new media channel for a client, or a new process, or a new way of planning, to a new way of hanging out together, everything in the same lens.
Sure.
Because all of this creation then eventually leads to better delivery, better product, better enthusiasm within you as an individual to be able to deliver. So that's the create part. And then what's next is, for us, a client relationship isn't today. It's not a 1 year vision. It's not a here and now. In fact, it takes a few months to settle down, get to
Yeah.
know each other. Then that relationship and partnership gets built. I don't know what the official statistics are, but I'm pretty sure, if not the best, then the second best OMD should be in the market today with respect to client retention. I mean, we're over 92% in the last 5 years. We don't lose businesses. And the
Okay.
main reason for that is this, that there is a brutal sense of honesty. There is a severe sense of co-ownership of
Hmm.
everything with, uh, and then that reflects in planning for tomorrow as opposed to fighting for today. So
Sure.
in a lot of what you see in the industry, it's about this quarter, pressures today, PNL is under pressure,
Yeah.
efficiencies need to be delivered today. And all of that is real. I'm not taking away from that. But if you do not plan for a year or a 2 year or a 3 year vision as a partner with somebody, that pressure of today will never allow you to be better from a tomorrow standpoint. So we make a conscious effort of solving the now, but with a perspective of what it looks like in the future. So that is how we create comes, what's next comes together broadly for OMD. So the respect for partners in the same lens as clients and agency, with the we creation of anything that helps this entire ecosystem run smoothly, and of course having a slightly more longer view of tomorrow as opposed to what we do today, or firefighting of today. So that's really the genesis of where this was born. Of course, interpretation and degrees of it could change in different
Sure.
markets as it gets rolled out. But yeah, for India, it's been more personal sensibilities of the teams, as opposed to a process or a tool in the organization,
Sure.
in the manner in which it is crafted.
No, makes complete sense. Very wonderfully explained. Thank you so much for that. All these efforts that you guys do internally also are reflected in the external market in terms of your ratings and how the agency has been performing overall.
Yeah,
So we know that RECMA has ranked OMD number one for 11 consecutive years, which is a huge news, right? What
yeah,
do you
that's a
think that the agency,
story.
yeah,
But yes, maybe soon that becomes an India story as well. Uh,
100%.
yeah.
So what do you think that the agency is, consistently getting right that others are perhaps still, struggling with?
I'm going back to the same thing that I said earlier. I think um, okay, let's take a step back. Every single advertiser today or every single media channel today, their efforts is to make their business grow, their jobs to become slightly less stressful, have a
Yes,
peaceful dinner with their family. Everyone has the same priorities as humans.
right.
um, I think the minute you start to put that first, and start to understand that and peel that first, and be that partner with them that enables them to be a better version of themselves every day.
Yeah,
That's what they need. So we will not, and I'm saying this as we, because the agency reflects the sentiment that I do, but we will not have sugar-coated conversations, dishonest conversations, sometimes borderline politically incorrect also maybe. Uh,
Hmm.
all of this is done specifically for an effort to be able to deliver to clients' businesses. So if
Sure.
there is a step that, if there is a misstep that we might even um, uh, register as either because of a past experience or something else, we won't shy away from sharing that. So I
Sure.
think underlying honesty, um, being fearless, but in a positive way and not in a brazen, brash way, I think is useful. If you can stand your ground, say your point, have enough evidence to back what you're saying, and then have that reasonable and logical conversation with somebody, it is always appreciated. Always. I
Sure.
have never ever seen honesty not pay off. So
Right.
fundamentally, and plus, I think OMD globally also were were a we're a very buttoned down, get to work kind of agency. This is not some flash here and there and, tricks up our sleeve or some gimmicky stuff here and there. We're very buttoned down, invested in the client's business. And that is what will reflect in all of the conversations that we do, either internally with our teams, externally with partners or clients. So yeah, just a sense of being button down, get to work. The importance of execution. There is as much importance, if not more, given to the execution side of things as opposed to the strategic side of things. Um, and strategy is great, but execution excellence is what will define whether your strategy is amazing or no. So enough
100%.
emphasis on that, on everyday processes, governance. All of these are very important tenets in the manner in which we keep a tight watch and a control and accountability on everything that we do. So that's largely I think the OMD way. This is my third country with OMD in the 8 years, and I can tell you that I have seen the sentiment be similar in all of the markets. So there must be something right done globally or centrally, that the culture echoes across markets, even when you travel. So I'm proof enough that it's similar, if not the same, in most markets in the world.
Sure, fair enough. So, Anisha, you mentioned in one of your answers how you aspire to be the long-term strategic partners to all your clients. So, we know that OMD India's portfolio includes brands like Apple, Mercedes, Renault, and Nivea. Give us a sense of, how do these global brands really, what do these global brands really expect from the Indian agency partners today, and how is that really different from 5 years ago?
Uh, Okay, so I think the couple of things that have changed, maybe in the last, if not 5, then maybe 8 years, 5 to 8 years, is a lot of these global brands have recognized India as a priority market for themselves. So it
Okay.
begins there. So
Okay.
whether it's Apple, whether it's Beiersdorf, Mercedes, any of these clients that you mentioned, they all have understood the power of India
Yeah.
internally in their global ecosystem. So it began
Got it.
there, which
Got it.
means attention exists to the market. There's a lot more interest in the manner in which you make this market succeed, because it is the only market in the world that's showing growth, exponential growth, as opposed to parts in the West and everything else that's going on macroeconomically, I think, in the world today. So once it began there, I think the importance then became that this is as much an India partnership as it is global. So there is parts of, or the good of the global process and thinking, and maybe discipline to an extent that you would take. But then the ask is to Indianize it or localize it
Right.
in what works for the people here, the economy here, and communication here, and things like that. So, localizing advertising, localizing thinking, this is great, this works in the rest of the world, but guess what? India doesn't. There are other things that happen in India that don't necessarily happen in the rest of the world.
Correct.
Um, uh, uh, Auto category and print is not something that the rest of the world understands, but it's a reality in India and it works in India. So the need to even establish, why do I need an ad in a newspaper? Because that's not typically something that you would do world over for a car, but you would do it here. So small things like that to larger strategic questions in terms of what car to launch, or should the phone launch first there or here? Should it be an India first or market
Right.
global first? So all of those questions, therefore, then indicate towards why India is becoming more important in the large scheme of things, and therefore all eyes are on you, right? So you have no option but to be the um, I think to be almost the partner to the client in a manner that is slightly more client and less agency. So the Apple team, I think, is more Apple than their OMD, because they're writing the story of
Sure.
Apple
Sure.
here, and the value of Apple in the global scheme of things. So LA conversations will have more India referencing coming in, and that's the job of both the client and us together. And that we take pride in, because the more we get the Indian name on the global map, the happier the client is, the happier we are, and the more freedom you get in order to therefore then experiment more, do more, govern less, because then you've proven your metal to deliver. So I think there is one, the importance of India itself. It begins there, and then there is a take the best from global, but localize it in a manner that it would work here for clients here, audiences here, etc. And then own the outcome. I think jointly you will make mistakes along the way, so own that as well, and
Sure.
that's okay. And I will always be the one to say sorry first before anyone else. Own up that mistake and then move on, learn from that, and move on to the next one. So it's not all hunky-dory every time. You will go wrong at times, but that's okay. That's the nature of the beast. So yeah, in sum, that the manner in which you localize but still keep the um, flavor of the global business or the global brand alive.
Sure, fair enough. Anisha, now I would want to pivot to the elephant in the room, which is the Omnicom IPG acquisition. Just from an industry point of view, how has that really triggered conversations around scale, consolidation, and redundancy across the industry, number one? And number two, what does this shift really mean for the agency ecosystem in India broadly?
Look, I'm not going to comment on the acquisition specifically. I think there's enough conversations with Tony and Karthik that have happened. I will probably just say it from my standpoint and my team's standpoint, that it's exciting. There's so much more that one can do. There is so much better that you can be, and our family is grown, so we're pretty excited, and that is where I will leave that answer to be. And in reality, that is my sentiment as well. But I don't want to double click on any points to belabor it. But in a nutshell, it's exciting. It's pretty exciting.
Sure. And do you think that the holding companies are being forced to reinvent themselves because the traditional agency model is under some sort of pressure?
Look, I don't think anyone can be forced. And okay, forget the agency business for a minute. Take any business in the country, startups, FMCG, luxury, auto, anything, real estate.
Hmm.
Reinvention is part of the game. You have a 3-year window, if you're lucky, to be consistent with one way of doing things or one way of thinking. You have to bring the house down every
Yeah.
few years, maybe 3, maybe 5, and consistently reinvent yourself. There is no option. And this is not just an agency or advertising question at all. There is consistent rethinking everything, from structures to pay models to pricing to so many things, products. All of that needs to happen. So for for us, and I'm not saying Omnicom, but I'm saying me personally, in whatever job I have done in the last, what, 2 over decades, every 3 years I have brought the house down. That's just the way things happen.
Okay.
That's probably the reason why longevity, client retention, and low attrition with teams, all of that is possible only when you're able to do that consistently. If there's nothing fresh that comes in at a certain interval of time, whatever that fresh is, you have to do some. It's like recharging your battery. No, there is only that much in one charge that it will go on. You have to recharge it. There needs to be new influx of energy in some form. So change and reinvention and all of that is not an option. So if the advertising industry is going through it, sure, I mean, you should.
Sure. But don't you think that while reinvention is the new rule of the game, these consolidations, do you think they strengthen the creativity and innovation from a macro level or really risk creating overly centralized agency structures?
uh Look, I structures can never be a deterrent to creativity. The day that becomes a reality, then I mean, creativity has died anyway. Then
Yeah.
I don't think in a um, for example, you had a madman era to a non-madman era, and maybe whatever else is going on at this point in time. At no point has there been a, for the people who want to be creative, I don't think that has compromised it at all. You will not have festivals celebrating creativity otherwise if this was the case. So I don't think creativity can be derailed. Firstly, by structures. Structures are one of the last things that can cause problems in creativity anyway. Secondly, I think the need to innovate also is overrated. So in innovation doesn't necessarily have to be a song and dance that happens outside that 5 people take notice of. I mean, if I tighten my process internally so 5 people can go for a PTA meeting more than they did last year, that's innovation for me. There is a manner in which a larger purpose is served by doing something differently or going slightly left of center to make that happen, and why not? So I don't think innovation and creativity ever, for the people who want it, will ever die because of structures or anything else. I think the larger question probably should be, is PNL pressure the the culprit in that sense that kills creativity? And I think maybe so, because the risk taking appetite typically will come down when pressure mounts. And India is, I mean, there's parts, we're shining in parts, we're struggling in parts overall as a country. So I think that if we're able to just, I think, build mechanisms in and around us as shock absorbers almost of sorts to kind of manage that pressure a little bit, I don't think creativity will ever die. And the second part is what I said right at the beginning, which is the long view. So do not get stressed about, I mean, of course, get stressed, solve the problem, but don't let that be a deterrent in what good can be in a year from now because you've taken, like a little beating today. So no, I do not agree. I think intent is what is important. There are enough brave people and enough intenders to make creativity and innovation happen. Structures don't change that. No.
Okay, fair enough. Okay, so coming down to my last question for today, we know that OMD India will complete 20 years next year. If
Right.
you had to define the next phase of growth for the agency, what would that be built on?
Um, I think the power of harnessing AI would be amazing.
Yeah.
We've started to get our hands fairly tight on it in the last 6 to 8 months, I think, maybe a year. I mean, of course, it's been around about a year and a half, but I think it's exploded in the last 1 year. It's incredible what it can do. So I think harnessing that would be a great first step, if not anything else, I think, from a future facing standpoint. The second bit, I think, is also, and slightly more selfishly, we need to do more as an industry to inspire the next generation to be excited about advertising overall.
Sure.
I think there was a certain panache associated with this industry when I joined it. It
Yeah.
was a big deal to be, oh, you're in advertising, and now you're like, oh, you're in advertising. So I just need that change a little bit. So whatever we can do to,
Sure.
just bring some of that excitement back, because it's there is excitement, there's ideas, there's glamour, there's innovation, there's so much more fun to be had in this business. So whatever we can do to the to the teenagers and slightly older, maybe sub 25, to make this industry more exciting. So we'll find some ways of making that happen in our little world, and whatever little we can contribute to that. I think consistent upskilling is also another area that, at least internally, we will do a lot more, as opposed to it being a one-off certification here and there and things like that. So whatever it takes to be slightly more, and anecdotally, I'll tell you, India is one of those countries, even now, if you compare with the rest of APAC, that you still have your erstwhile TV planners and digital planners,
Yeah.
which doesn't necessarily exist in Southeast Asia, for example. They're all integrated.
Right.
And that's the dream. So there is a certain percentage within OMD that we've achieved that already. And I'm hoping that at least by end of this year end, if all goes well, then at least 70-80% of the agency should be integrated. We're well on our mission to get there. But the joke, or the not the joke, but the push that I give the teams is this: that you expect one marketeer to evaluate a TV plan and a digital plan. He's one guy. What option do you have, and why do you have two people explaining two different things to him? So if
Correct.
he can, why can't you? So that seems to have resonated over time, and people are well within their direction to get there, and that requires upskilling consistently. So you learn every day. You use your friends and your colleagues as, almost shadows or crutches to kind of help you deliver that, and they're doing it selfishly because they learn what you know better than them in the bargain. So upskilling, harnessing AI, something for the industry, something nice that we can do, at least to bring by the joy of advertising, are a few things I think that'll define it. All of this then, therefore, of course, from an agency standpoint, has to translate to excellence, growth. That can't stop. But I think unless you do this, that won't happen. So that may be the vision, but these are probably the path charted out to get there. That's hopefully, I don't know how far in the future, maybe 2 years, safely, not more than that.
No, all the very best for that. And thank you, Anisha. Thank you so much for taking time on a weekday. We really appreciate all your valuable inputs. And I personally have a lot of takeaways from this conversation. So thank you so much for joining us.
Not at all. Thank you. This was
Thank you.
fun.